And we are live.
Oh. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another sort of episode of Those Aren't Biscuits. If you've been keeping track with us, you should know that this is normally when we would do Adaptation, but there's been a little hiccup with us and viewing that film on time, so we decided to just play some damn video games.
We've been, we're kind of moving Adaptation gradually towards more of a looser thing. It's sort of every other week, but, you know, sometimes getting hold of the movies in time can be a bit tricky, and then getting two people to watch them, particularly since we've been leaning towards the more, obscure movies, you know? They can't all be on YouTube.
Right.
Although I did watch a movie that was on a video sharing site. I did watch American Movie. I watched the whole thing, and I think you should watch it, and we can discuss it on the show. And then...
I'm scared of that one.
Oh, I think you'll enjoy it. I was watching American Movie, which is a documentary about people making a movie. It's really good, but I sent John a message saying, since we met, everything I watched seems to be set in Wisconsin. But because I've been, because it was set in Wisconsin, and John was like, oh, how many could there be? And, you know, I was half kidding, there weren't that many. And then, God, I wish I could remember the name of the movie. But, 2 days later, I was like, I need to, because I'm trying to get into filmmaking, I was like, I need to watch more classic movies. So I started watching this Werner Herzog movie that someone sent me. And it's about two guys moving to Wisconsin. So,
really?
Yeah. So it's been
Where are they from originally?
Different places. I don't want to spoil it because I think you should watch that one too. I'll go remind myself of the title. I haven't finished watching it yet. But, yeah. That's my life at the moment. Wisconsin is stalking me.
Real quick. Hello, Breadborn. Hello, Jessica Plays. Hello, Sinister Minister. How's it going, everyone?
Hello. Hope you guys are having a good time.
We're just playing some more Division 2. Owen's a little bit behind me. It looks like they have decided to kick him up to level 24.
I think I was on level 14?
Something like that. But he is a little bit behind me, and we just gotta power through these missions and just have some fun while we're doing it. Because hey, I guess in a month or something, they're opening up their first raid.
Okay.
Which could be fun.
I want to try and entice you with this, so I'm going to be less mysterious. This is the plot summary for the movie I was watching. It was called Strozek, and I couldn't remember the title because it's the character's name, and I'm always crap.
Is it Strozek or is it Strozek?
It's Strozek. Well, it's Strozek. Bruno Strozek, a hapless busker in Berlin, falls for a prostitute who's in trouble with local thugs. With nothing to lose, the new couple decide to emigrate to the United States with their neighbor, Schultz, whose American nephew lives in rural Wisconsin. But after a customs agent confiscates his cherished pet bird, Bio, Strozek begins a downward spiral into culture shock and surreality as he experiences the dark underbelly of the American dream. This is from 1977, so the same year Star Wars came out. Werner Herzog was like, you know what I think cinema needs? Wisconsin. So everything I see now is set in Wisconsin. And then I was watching this interview with Neil Gaiman, and he was talking about how he'd fucking moved to Wisconsin. It's following me. Ever since I said this as a joke, the god of Wisconsin
that he
has...
that he had moved to Wisconsin or would move to Wisconsin?
I think he said had, because he was talking about how much colder it was. This was an old interview.
Yeah, so I actually know the story behind that.
He likes milk.
Pick somewhere for us to walk to.
Oh yeah, okay, let's do this. So we're playing a little bit of Division. John's ahead of me, so I'm in charge of the game today. Let's go do this side mission. Oh no, that's in the really dangerous area. Let's not get ourselves murdered. Or myself murdered. Okay.
See, real quick, Jessica Plays says, I was absolutely gutted earlier today. I was waiting for TDMS, and then I realized it's Monday. Well, you got the better show anyways.
It is Monday. That is one true thing at least. Let's go do this side mission on the other side of the White House, and then maybe this... Oh, you see, these are all like level 23 areas now. You've leveled up my whole map. Let's fast travel to the White House, and then we'll go do that side mission just off the White House.
Well, remember, you are technically level 23
I know,
right now,
I know.
So if it's let's see here. Gamer Lad says, "Ahoy hoy! Guess who's here?" I'm guessing Gamer Lad. He asks, "Is this the Division?" It's the Division 2, sir. But
Yes.
But no. Anyways, with Neil Gaiman, so I guess you've never read American Gods, right?
No.
Okay. There's a substantial portion of that book that is set in Wisconsin, and apparently that came about because he had, I don't know if it was on a whim or something, but he had moved to Wisconsin and was living in a cabin owned by some friends of his. And,
It's quite a whim, though, isn't it? If it was a whim. I just gotta, move to Wisconsin.
Yeah, I think that's how most people ended up in Wisconsin, honestly.
I've always assumed Wisconsin's more
go.
like a basking shark. It just moves through the world collecting people in a way. You know?
Right. It's the Wisconsin Triangle.
Right.
Yeah.
Alright, let's go. So, if you saw our previous Division playthrough, this is not really a normal episode. We've been doing these just because we've both been kind of busy lately, so we're kind of half-playing more than anything. You guys let me know how the volume balance is. I think the game is a little quiet, but I'm just going to fire a bullet. Oh, there we go. It's not completely silent.
Yeah. The game's a little quiet. It's a little quiet. I mean, the only thing you're really missing out on is bang, 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 bang. Bang, 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 bang.
And then if in previous episodes, John crying, let's hear the law! Shut up! But not today, because he's got very far ahead. Because I've been so busy, I've been away at a wedding. Yes. I've only done like one stream since I got home. It feels all weird.
Yeah. How was the wedding?
It was nice. So I don't normally like weddings, but I had a nice time. It was good. I was taking lots of pictures. I was learning to use my camera a little bit, so I was nice and focused. And, no, it was good. It was, my girlfriend's sister. They were having a lovely time. And,
oh, that's nice.
And yeah, I was having fun. So it was good. And, I will be, less hateful of weddings in future, because I didn't have a terrible time.
Okay. That's great.
Plus, I managed to snag a bag of sherbet lemons, which is good.
Yes. Makes it all worth it.
Damn straight it does. Should we fight these guys?
Yeah, let's fight them. Let's see.
The problem is, being up at level 24 is really meaningless, because it doesn't help me access any areas, because everything's scaled up. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Whoa, 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 behind us, behind us, behind us.
Whoop, sorry, it's been a few days since I played. Alright. So, no, it was pretty good. I was away at a wedding. It was cool. Okay. I watched a movie on the way home that I'd like to talk about a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna subject information about this movie to you. Are you familiar with the movie Smallfoot?
Only in the sense that I knew you were going to watch it.
There's a movie called Smallfoot. Gamerlad says, what are your thoughts on The Division 2? I've had very mixed feelings. I like it. So Smallfoot is a movie which its trailer had a pretty fun, goofy premise, which is it's an animated kids movie about a village of yetis in a mountain who one day one of them sees a human being who to them is a mythological creature called a Smallfoot. And when he goes back, nobody believes him. So he sets out to prove that Smallfoot exists. Which is, you see the trailer and you're like, alright, it's like a goofy, a twist on, humans trying to find Bigfoot. He is a Yeti and he's trying to find a human.
Right.
And they call him Smallfoot. The actual movie Smallfoot is a moving and at times very well written propaganda piece for atheism and secular thinking.
Really?
Yeah, it really is. Now I'm an atheist, and it wasn't, like, hugely anti-religion, but, there's a lot they keep out of the trailer, which is, specifically, this is a movie about a guy called Migo, well, a Yeti called Migo, I should say, who, he's part of a village, of other Yetis, who all have these religious beliefs that come from these things called the sacred stones, right? These intractable, perfect truths written in the sacred stones. And his dad is called the Gong Ringer, because one of the stones says that the sun is a giant glowing snail that crawls across the sky every day, and someone has to ring a gong every morning to wake it up, otherwise the sun won't rise. And he's training to, like, fill his purpose his whole life to be this gong ringer, and his dad is also the predecessor gong ringer, and it's like a family job, it's passed down. He's the latest, and he's very proud of it, and he's like...
I mean, it's all sounding very above board so far.
He's known in the village for being, like, absolutely one of the best followers of the stones. He's like a devout believer. One day he sees this thing, a Smallfoot, and he comes back to the village and he's telling everybody, I saw a Smallfoot and they exist. But one of the stones explicitly says, there's no such thing as Smallfoot. they don't exist. And so he has this crisis of faith in the movie where you actually see it, like, dawn on him. When someone actually puts him, like, one of the stones says you're not supposed to lie. And the other says Smallfoot doesn't exist, but he's seen a Smallfoot. And so the impetus of this movie is not just that he sets out to prove Smallfoot exists because nobody believes him. He is banished from his town for saying the stones are wrong about Smallfoot, and is setting about to prove, essentially, that his religion is wrong, and that his holy book is infallible, isn't infallible. And now, the thing is, it's quite a cheap kids movie. It's not the most amazing movie in the world, but it has these surprisingly, like, touching moments. Like, every day he helps his dad ring this gong, and then one day, after he's banished, he's not there. So his dad's late ringing the gong, and the sun rises anyway, because it's the sun. And what follows is, like, a really moving moment, as his dad basically tries to confront what his purpose in life is if he's not the gong ringer, because the gong doesn't need ringing.
Right.
And it's in this goofy, stupid Yeti kids movie. It's surprisingly good. It even, I'm gonna spoil the movie because it's a kids movie, and if you want to go see the movie Smallfoot,
not Littlefoot.
if you want to go see the movie
Smallfoot.
Smallfoot, I'm sorry, stop listening for the next few minutes. The end result is that the chief, sort of religious guy, the guy who enforces the word of the stones, knows that Smallfoot exists, and it turns out that all the religious orders are basically because many, many years ago the humans nearly hunted them to extinction, so they went to hide on the mountain, and they're all intended to stop people from going down the mountain, because they also don't believe there's anything underneath that mountain. They believe the mountain floats, and then the clouds are on the back of these mammoths and things. Whereas actually, their whole village is structured around funneling all this ice into a machine below to make steam, to create clouds to hide them. But it was legitimately a really interesting twist. It wasn't an amazing movie. It was cheap, you know? It wasn't Pixar budget or anything like that. And yet, weirdly out of nowhere, there's this movie that nobody really seems to know, because I don't think anybody watched it. Nobody seems to know that it's this, it's not, like, overtly anti-religious, but it's this movie about the importance of, not hiding the truth from your citizens, if you know what I mean, and from letting trusting people to be smart enough to make their own decisions, and also about, you know, not being beholden to old holy books in the face of explicit evidence to the contrary. And yet it's also a movie about yetis that believe humans are a mythical creature called Smallfoot. It's a really strange experience for me. Because I was watching this movie and I was sort of fascinated by it. Like, I wouldn't watch it again. It's not entering like my cycle of favorite movies or anything. But it was a surprise to me. I'll be honest. I wasn't expecting that. You don't see many secular movies, you know?
Right. You know what the weird thing is? Like, you describing this plot to me, actually, to me, almost makes the case that maybe religion's okay. You know what I mean? Like, because, like, there's one key element that you mentioned, and it's, oh yeah, humans almost hunted them to extinction, right? Like, so to me, it's like, you know what? They're making kind of a valid point. Like, clearly, like there is a threat. There's a danger.
For sure.
That needs to be addressed.
Well, there's a little bit of a sort of an anti-Trumpism to it in a way too, because what the Cloud Machine's been doing is basically making this wall between them and the outsiders who think they're monsters, you know?
Okay.
And it ends on a message of, like, communication. The ending's a little lame, because they go, we just have to find a way to communicate with them. And the end result is they just go down there and stand next to them and be like, hey, we're Yetis! We came down from the mountain!
What up?
But it was a strange, okay, we're supposed to be disabling these transmitters. It was a strange experience.
I got him.
It wasn't, the thing is, it wasn't even overtly, like, the priest, basically, the Pope of Yeti Town, began as almost like a villain. Like, he would act duplicitously and things like that to preserve it, but, you know, he wasn't a bad guy. He genuinely believed that any contact with the humans was dangerous, and he wanted to protect everybody. And came around in the end, you know what I mean? It was a surprisingly thoughtful movie. Not all perfect, but, like, his dad was played by Danny DeVito, and his path... Because, like, everybody's had, like, parents who... or older relatives who, like, don't keep up with like, either politics or...
Right.
You know, and it can be, like, a sort of a painful, odd experience when your parents don't kind of support your growing... Well, almost growing past them in a way, if you know what I mean? Like, learning something they didn't.
Right.
And that was kind of a touching movie. It was strange. Like, I don't want to say it was a really good movie, because that would mislead. It was a low-budget kids movie, but it was a thoughtful, pleasant, low-budget kids movie about critical thinking and the need to be accountable to people and things. It was interesting. A real surprise. Smallfoot. I can't wholeheartedly recommend it. It has a lot of songs that suck. It's one of those, we want to be a musical, but we don't write good songs. In fact, I found out afterwards that the screenwriter and director wrote the songs, which is not a good sign, you know? You could tell.
I'm down on the other side here.
You down? Okay, hold on. I'm coming to you. Are you down? Can you,
I'm on the other...
Okay, hold on. I'm coming to you.
Moving. Careful. Watch the
Oh, God.
staircase.
Whoa! It does have one kick-ass, cover of Under Pressure, though. But yeah, it was,
I'm coming to you.
Cool. It was interesting. Like, I used to be an angry atheist, more of a sort of a peaceful atheist these days. But I'm still interested in movies that promote secularism in a positive way. Because there aren't a lot of them. There are more movies that go with the idea of, like, hey, it's important to believe in stuff that isn't real for reasons. But this was good. I liked it. That's all I have to say about Smallfoot. I wanted to mention it.
Yeah, fair enough. No, it's oh, what's that movie? What's that movie that just came out? It's one of those, like, clearly, like, propaganda films, like not even trying to be clever, like, you know, I mean, because I would say that Smallfoot in its you know, in a sense, is propaganda, you know, but
sure,
you know, it sounds like there's some sort of, like, element of, you know, fantasy and plot and imagination to
a goal. I mean, every movie with a message is sort of propaganda, you know. But
what's that one that just came out though? Was it Unplanned?
Oh, I didn't hear this one.
Oh God, it's basically the anti-Planned Parenthood movie.
Hello to Sports Network. Hello to AJ Morningstar. How you doing, guys? Welcome. Is it a kids movie?
But they're making... No, God, no. Well, I imagine it's like a PG movie, but
Like a family film? Or like a...
yeah, but it's along the same lines of like God's Not Dead.
Oh, wow. Unplanned. It's a great title.
Yeah. But they were recently talking up how the movie had more followers on Twitter than Planned Parenthood, did. And it's funny because like the first response was like, "Great, you're a movie. We provide an actual service. We're not here to have a popularity contest."
That's all it is to them, really, isn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I quite liked.
If you're hurting, by the way, I have.
Oh, I'm down.
Okay.
I'm coming. I quite liked Dean Cain getting all upset because that movie they made, everybody was like, this title's a little misleading. They made a movie about that abortion doctor, and they called it America's Most Prolific Serial Killer.
Oh my god.
And he was the thing is, apparently it's not a terrible movie, but it was the not. Oh hey, we got out of it. It was that abortion doctor that had been found to be actually killing babies after they were born in certain cases. You remember the one?
Right.
It's a case a few years ago where really late abortions, viable kids were being born, and he was basically snipping the spinal cords. Which here's the thing. I think there are absolutely there is at some point a line you have to draw where you go, okay, now this is a baby. Do you know what I mean? Like,
right. Absolutely.
And the difficulty, of course, is where do you draw that line? It's not as black and white as everybody wants you to believe, and there are absolutely cases where once you have a baby and it's alive and it's there, killing it is murder. And I say this as someone who doesn't believe abortion is murder. We're not talking like. We're not talking 99% of the things you would call an abortion here at all, right? But it doesn't change the fact that the title, America's Most Prolific Serial Killer, is incredibly misleading in this case. Really.
Yeah.
But,
well, I mean, okay, just for the, weird thing, right? I mean, this is gonna sound terrible, but, he's calling it the most prolific serial killer when I doubt 90% of the people can actually say that guy's name.
Right.
Like,
I've already forgotten it, and I've read about the film. Right, and...
Oh, shit. We got public execution going on over here.
Yeah. I mean, it's strange. And it's not that, like, a doctor who kills his patients couldn't be a serial killer. The most prolific serial killer in Britain was a doctor who killed his patients. But there's a... Yeah, there's a... They're trying to say something more than that. You know what I mean? Because they suck. Ha! Eat the inflammable gas! Oh my god, this guy sucks. Sinister Minister says, my girlfriend says she likes Smallfoot and Owen is cute. Aww, well thank you. Those two things don't seem connected, but I appreciate it. I'm coming back to you.
Okay.
Well, I liked it. It was a good movie. Not the Dean Cain abortion doctor movie. That I'm fairly sure that's an abomination. I hope he's Superman in the whole movie, though. Like, they say he's a detective, but it would be cool if he was just Superman, you know? I'm here to shut down the clinic! Da, 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 da.
Oh, shit. I'm down.
At least it was only a public event.
Yeah. Alright, I'm giving up.
Yeah, me too. What came out today, didn't it? The guy who draws those cute alien comics is anti-abortion. Everybody's really upset. Alright. Should we spawn back in the White House?
Okay. Sure. Oh, why don't you go to the... Oh, never mind. That's for me. Okay.
So this wedding I was at, they had a silhouette artist.
That sounds interesting. What's that?
He by hand, freehand, held up pieces of black paper and cut out your silhouette.
Oh, that's cool.
And I
guess.
like, if you knew me and you knew what I looked like and you saw this silhouette, and didn't know what it was, you would recognize me by it. That's how good it is.
Oh wow, okay, cool.
Beth and I got one done. Really nice because there's things like it's my silhouette, but my glasses and my shirt buttons are cut out of then the silhouette, so it's in white.
That almost sounds like a Doctor Who villain, you know? Where it's like all shadows except for...
Shirt buttons and glasses. Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Alright, well, let's see. That was a nice, simple mission. Let's go do, should we go do the drone crash site? Let's do a few side missions while we're chatting and stuff. Let's go for it. I've got to sort out my loot at some point, but...
So... I had anything going on in the chat real quick before we move on?
I just want to say one more thing about the silhouette artist, and then it's all yours. He had a little badge on him of R2-D2 and C-3PO, and I mentioned it, and he said that he'd done C-3PO's wedding. That's what he said. I assume he meant Anthony Daniels, but he'd been a silhouette artist at, he said, C-3PO's wedding. And basically informed that he'd spent the whole day, Anthony Daniels spent the whole day telling saucy anecdotes about the cast.
Oh. Did he relate any of these to you?
Oh, it was things like some were well known, like how much Carrie Fisher had to be, taped up in her space outfits, things like that. He didn't go in much detail. But there you go. I met a man who was at Anthony Daniels' wedding, and he did a silhouette of my face. That's interesting, isn't it? That's all I have to say about this. There you go. Go for it. And hello to Lose Con. How you doing? That's it. We're all caught up. We're all caught up. Do-do-do. Oh! I keep forgetting how my powers work, actually. So yeah, what were you gonna say?
So, I mean, this isn't anything that's, like, super, like, I don't know. I thought it was kind of funny. So...
Oh yeah, go for it. Funny's good.
I decided on my next vacation.
Oh yeah?
And, I did it that real, like, stereotypical way. Where, you throw a dartboard, or, excuse me, throw a dart at a dartboard, and you throw the whole damn dartboard, just,
Oh.
But no, I printed off a list.
Turns out John's going to Bob Geldof's face again. This is how I picture you. That's how I picture your home. Fuck you, Geldof!
Pictures of Bob Geldof?
Strapped to a dartboard.
Right, yeah. But no, I printed off a list of all the all the countries in the world in alphabetical order. And but it was funny is that the website that I got this from, like, the guy's like, oh yeah, one day I decided that for reference purposes I should make this list, and so I did it, and I decided to throw it online, and I've updated it, and all I could think is, like, how fucking boring is this guy's life? Where he just, like, one day he's like, you know what? The world needs a list like this.
And you know what? And he didn't think anybody else had already done it. Because I would just assume, the thing is, if I wanted to find that out, it would be online. But I would expect to find it at some sort of, like, international trade organization site or something. Do you know what I mean? A group who has some sort of job that would require a list like that.
Right. But then, like, he also made a point to be like, oh yeah, and then, you know, I wanted to make sure that it was, Whoa,
haven't we done this already?
Printable. So, like, this dude is just like, yo, I made a list, it's printable, like, I'm freaking awesome. You know? It's just like... but no, so... So what ended up happening...
Hey, there we go.
...was...
Flammable gas!
I threw the... Did we end up in a different mission on the way here?
We did. Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess we're doing it.
Collect requested components. Oh no, sod that. Oh yeah, we just wandered into helping the locals, I think. Trying to find...
No, this is a straight up mission.
Alright, let's find the resources then. Cool! Tiny Bit Secret says, well, also, that's really easy to do in Excel. Yep, that's true.
Right.
Yeah, grab your leg and hop around. That'll help.
So I threw the damn dart, and
Brunei
was Yemen. No, it was Yemen.
United
So I was like,
States.
okay, you know, whatever. I was just like, okay, you know what, Yemen, that's okay. Like, I can go check out Yemen. Here's the thing, I am not necessarily 100% up on my, I guess I would say current events, because I looked it up and they're like, under no circumstances should you go to Yemen. I was like, oh, whoa, and they, like, every website I went to was very adamant about, like, do not go to Yemen. It was like the ending of 2010, you know, Space Odyssey, where it's like, use all these planets, you know, for peace and prosperity, but do not approach the first moon of Jupiter. You know, that's really what it felt like, and I was like, wow.
Well, apparently we found one of these. Where are the others?
Oh, I found it.
Yeah, but we got 7 more to find.
It's just, yeah, no, they're around.
What are we looking for?
Boxes.
Oh, okay.
With. Ooh, found a shirt. That's something that's been kind of crazy about this about this game is that, man, it's really kind of hard to find apparel stuff.
Teddy Biscuit says, yeah, John, don't go there. War, famine, it's pretty bad. Ha! Americans, they laugh in the face of war. And being expected to know what's going on outside America.
Right? Like, what the hell do you think?
Oh, I found one, I think. Oh, no, that's just a random bag.
So I threw it. So I felt a little guilty, but I had to throw another dart, right? Just had to do it.
You're already betraying the system.
Right, yeah, like, I really felt like, because the whole idea was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna throw the dart, and, you know, it's gonna be real, you know, bohemian of me. It's gonna be real, you know, just go for it, man. It'd be great. And I'm like, no, I'm gonna throw again. If you don't mind.
3 weeks into your holiday to Yemen. No, I want to throw again. Man arrested carrying darts through streets. I demand another throw.
Oh, okay. So we got a new area.
Oh, okay, cool.
It looks like.
Teddy Bazooka says, maybe you're meant to go and help people. Don't be so selfish with your vacay time. That's it. That's exactly it. You were fated to save those people, John.
I mean, but it's a war? Like, going on over there, like...
I thought Americans loved, like, John Wayne-style one-man war fights. You're a John Wayne type, right?
Alright. No, I can't stand John Wayne. He's...
Pilgrim?
Horrifically racist. If you ever want to get a real clear idea of John Wayne, look up his Playboy interview.
Aww.
And
doesn't have pictures, does it?
Oh yeah, full centerfold.
Really? Oh god,
no.
I was so frightened. Oh, do you know deep?
You sounded more interested.
You know Deep Blue
terrified.
Sea, when the shark comes out and eats Samuel L. Jackson. It was like that.
Sure.
For me, that moment.
Uh,
Do
So
do
I-
do 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 do. My pilgrim is a centerfold. Sorry, my blood runs cold.
Everyone get around. Look at John Wayne's penis.
do 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 do. I haven't seen many John Wayne movies, and I think I really did myself a favor because the first ever John Wayne movie I ever saw, the only John Wayne movie I've ever seen all the way through, was The Green Beret.
Oh,
The
boy.
one where he basically single-handedly wins the Vietnam War before the Vietnam War was over. And I watched that movie, and it's one of those films where you're like, this guy was like a beloved movie star. He's
Right.
sort of insane. Whoa! Oh, I'm in trouble. But yeah. So what did you get next?
Where you at? I got Spain.
That was your next one.
Yep. Oh shit! You used a kit.
Oh yeah, I did. Is that okay?
Yeah. No, it's I have a drone that heals or repairs your armor.
Sorry.
So if you're ever in a tough spot, just say it.
I'll let you know.
I could probably.
I don't think you had
rotate
this
it.
last time.
Yeah. No, I didn't. But no, I got Spain, and
This is really sad to me. I was,
I was like, you know what?
I was
Alright.
enjoying playing the game of what kind of horrific holiday will fate send Jonathan on next.
I mean, who knows? Who knows? Oh,
I
well,
imagine it would be like, do you remember that web series Sonic for Hire, where Sonic would just end up in shittier situations? Oh, I'm down. Shittier situations
Yep, you
in
are.
different video games. I'm picturing you like over the moon door in Game of Thrones, like on that tilting platform with the spikes from the Flash Gordon movie. You know, putting your hand in that wooden thing, getting stung by scorpions.
Right.
You know, getting an Airbnb at the flat from Silent Hill
The
4.
Bates Motel.
Right. We call it Jonathan and his magic dartboard.
Jonathan and his sadistic dartboard. I would say.
We do it like a kid's cartoon. Okay, Johnny, where's the magic dartboard sending you today? And the dartboard starts spinning, and the colors like fill the screen. Doodly 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 dee.
The DRPK.
It's the seller from the movie Saw, and then the pig monster just leaps out at you. No, no. And we've made a special arrangement with your
well.
employers to give you non-stop vacation time, Jonathan. No.
Oh, they'd probably be into it. they don't like me enough, so just.
I'm
But
picturing
yeah,
you there
I'm going to
hacking
Spain.
through your own ankle. Hey, at least I'm not at work. Woo!
Woohoo!
Yeah, so Spain. You're going to Spain.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to Spain.
What are your preconceptions around Spain? Without delving into any kind of research whatsoever. Right off the bat, what do you know about Spain?
Lisps.
True. Certain parts of Spain. Barcelona. You going to Barcelona?
I'm going to go Ibiza.
I wish Freddie Mercury had done it like that. Barcelona. That would be great.
Is that a oh, what's his name? George Ezra song too?
I've no
In
idea.
Barcelona.
Maybe. Don't you mean George Ezra?
Yeah, George Ezra. Yeah, he's the one who did Budapest too. That song.
I don't know that one.
Miles from Budapest, my hidden treasure chest, golden grand piano, my beautiful Castillo. Beth probably knows it. Okay, just ask her.
So yeah, so Spain? Other than lisps, what's your association with Spain?
My association with Spain.
Like your-
oddly enough, I always think of like flamenco.
Right.
Isn't that a Spanish
Yeah.
thing? Like flamenco. Yeah. Other preconceptions. So this is gonna be kind of, I guess, weird for me. Like, oh, this is gonna sound terrible. I should just stop. But like the idea of like Spanish speakers who are like white, you know, like that's gonna be kind of odd for me, you know.
I guess. I mean, they are kind of dark-skinned in Spain. It's worth mentioning. Not as dark-skinned as South American Spanish-speaking people, but
right, like it's more like olive skin, right?
well, kind of. But you have to remember that that Spain, the south of Spain in the Middle Ages, was conquered by Africa.
Right, the Moors.
Yeah, and that's where
it's where the Andalusian
right. So they are not
group came out.
They are not as mono-ethnic as the rest of Europe, even going as far back as the Middle Ages. In fact, they weren't traditionally thought of as white in the Middle Ages, quite often. It's quite a controversial thing. The political implications of historical whiteness is an interesting thing, because it's so relativistic as to be useless in any meaningful way, because it's obviously, you know, nonsense. But, yeah,
right.
The Spanish being thought of as white is relatively recent, you know?
Well, I mean, like, it's a matter of perception, of course, you know, because, like, oh, what the fuck is... Oh, him.
I mean, I do think they wear polo neck sweaters and play squash, so, I mean, pretty white.
Like, highlight? Isn't that the big Spanish thing, is highlight?
I don't know.
I guess that's another one. Like, they're pretty good at soccer.
I'm fairly sure.
I'm
fairly sure a lot of them are racist towards the darker skinned. And what could be more white than that?
Right. Exactly.
No, it's yeah, it'll be interesting.
But, I don't know. I've also already decided on, because, like, I mean, I'm not stupid. Like, it's like, oh, I'm going to Spain. What part of Spain? Spain. You know, I've already picked.
Oh yeah, where you going? You going to Seville?
Within. No. I mean, so I have a kind of thing about if I travel. I mean, it sounds so. It's a real pretentious thing to say. I know.
Yep.
But I don't particularly like. I don't want to go to touristy stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty normal, I think.
Yeah. Wait, this thing... Oh, this thing is up and ready to go. Suck it! Ah!
Woo!
Burn, baby!
Beautiful.
Okay.
So yeah, where you going?
I want to go to Granada.
Oh, nice. Hello, mother.
I mean, I know
Hello,
it is
father.
I know it...
Here I am at the place Granada.
That a song?
Yeah, haven't you heard it? Well, it's Camp Granada. Hello, mother. Hello, father. Here I am at Camp Granada. It's a song about a kid riding home from camp and how terrible it is. You remember Joseph Spivey? He contracted poison ivy. Do 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 do.
You don't contract.
It's a song, Jonathan. I didn't write it. I think it was.
Yeah, but it's a shitty song. It's inaccurate.
Tiny Bit Secret says that's like 90% of British holidaymakers in Spain, to be honest. Hence Brexit. What? Instigated by the Spanish? Get them out! Get them out!
What do you mean? Like they're all going to Granada or
Spain?
They just want to avoid
holidays in Spain is very common in England. There are a lot of British people in Spain. Just when you, also fat middle-aged bald ones too. So you're never safe.
So, you know what? I won't. I'm gonna. No, screw it. I'm going to say it. So you'll be there, huh?
Yeah, that's why I said it. I made the joke before you. You don't get to co-opt my joke. All right.
Ooh, echo.
All right, let's go to this crash site. Sort it out. Important law.
Or cut down on this man's orders. He's not a hero, he's a murderer.
We can take them, sir.
That's better.
Tiny Bit Secret says they just say Spain, no specific city or area.
55 counts of murder. A court-martial will be held shortly to determine your guilt or innocence.
History will show he was right.
Those people were infected. They tried to break the quarantine.
Cool.
They would have caused a second outbreak. The
Yeah.
colonel saved thousands of lives. If that's gonna be your defense, Ridgway, I'm sure it'll be a fast trial.
You're not taking the colonel.
These guys really like their KFC.
Let's get him out of here before more of his followers show up.
It's our Colonel. They've got the extra crispy.
So yeah, I want to go, but specifically, I want to go. Oh, I can't remember her name now. Like Marina. Anyways, I want to go during a specific time. There's a festival.
Are you gonna go for the running of the bulls?
Celebrate. No.
Damn it!
I would absolutely run with the bulls.
If you didn't want to die
Once again, like. Well, no, I would do it just for the fuck of it.
and get yourself, many people
But,
die during the running of the bulls, right?
Sure, but be a hell of a story to tell,
Well, not if you die. But if you die, it'd be a hell of a story
you
for
can
me
a
to
story.
tell.
Right, exactly. I'm doing it for content, Owen.
I wouldn't do the running of the bulls myself, partly because I don't want to die, but also they are being led to bullfights, which I oppose. Because they are horrible.
I was actually looking that up. Apparently, they have... most of Spain has done away with...
it's only those few traditional areas that hold out.
Yeah, and when they do bullfighting, it's not to the death. It's they use these like paint brushes, like giant. They're basically giant paint brushes. So. I mean, yeah, because I was talking to someone at work about that today, and they're like, "Oh man, what about the bull?" I'm like, I would go see a bullfight, if I knew for sure it wasn't, to the death. You know what I mean? Like,
Right, because the thing about bullfights is, like, the thing that put me off for bullfights forever was when I discovered that they wound the animals' necks beforehand. You know what I mean? I don't know. I know it sounds silly.
Right.
Like, I don't believe in blood sports with animals, right? I'm not a vegetarian. I don't much care for hunting. That's a personal preference. I just have no desire to kill things, even if I'm, like, willing to eat one, It's just not my personal thing. I don't want to kill anything. I take no pleasure from it. And I don't understand people who do.
Right.
But that's me, right? But what I don't want to do is, with absolutely no realistic connection to food, deliberately cause an animal suffering for entertainment. That, to me, is gross, But when I found out that they
Right. I mean,
specifically go out of the way to make the animal as stressed and angry as possible, and then also make it impossible for it to defend itself, that, to me, like, I hate that. I hate everything about that.
right, and like I said, that's more with the traditional version of bullfighting. Like,
Oh yeah, it's very sanitized in the rest of Spain these days. But there's an argument to be made that
Yeah.
it validates the traditional in some way, but I don't know. That's...
I mean, here's the thing. I don't have a personal tie to the traditions of bullfighting, so me seeing a sanitized version doesn't matter to me.
Right.
Like, I'll still think it's awesome. Like, I'll still think it's like to me, it's like, okay, I saw a bullfight. I'm not going to be that asshole like, oh, you didn't see a real bullfight. Like, no, I saw a bullfight. Like,
Right.
this is a big ass drone. Holy shit! Look at this thing.
Oh wait, is that it?
Yeah.
It's a fucking plane. I thought we were retrieving like a little helicopter.
Maybe not.
Right.
They look like a civilian militia.
So yeah, but no, there's a festival going on. It's supposed to celebrate basically this woman who was one of the first liberal leaders in the city that was going up against the ultra-conservative government of like the late 1800s, and
Oh, interesting.
and you know, she was eventually killed, and I guess, and whatnot. But they still look upon her very fondly in the city as like a folk hero, and they have a festival every year for her in her remembrance. And you know, it's a lot of dancing and music and parades and stuff. So yeah, it'd be kind of fun to see.
Do it like a Glenn Beck. This liberal insurgent that they're commemorating here today, trying to destroy the traditional values of Spain, wearing big floppy hats and sleeping in the afternoon. She was like, no, maybe we don't need to sleep in the afternoon. Destroying our traditional Spanish family values.
Is nothing sacred anymore.
We must have siesta. I was watching this documentary a few years ago about how the siesta's dying out in Spain, but
Yeah.
the traditional work hours isn't. Because in Spain, what they used to do traditionally is they would work until like 7 p.m., 8 p.m., you know? But then in the middle of the day, they'd go
Right.
home and go to sleep a little bit, you know? That was their traditional layout. And the like workaholism manifested in such a way that the siesta started dying out, but the workday didn't like move to like 5 like it is everywhere else, or 6, you know what I mean? So they were all working themselves to
Yay,
death.
America doing another export.
Right, so they were basically all working themselves to death because they weren't getting their little afternoon naps. Which I thought was an interesting story about how, you know, the modern world can kind of wreak havoc with traditional older ways of life in places that people don't stop to think about in interesting ways. You know, I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah. How the fuck do we get up there?
I gotta operate this crane, but I'm tapping the operate crane button. It's not,
Oh.
oh, here we go. AJ says, bull riding down the street of Spain would be cool to see. Well, you can't ride the bulls. That's... well, you could try, I suppose. They probably wouldn't like it very much.
Oh, here we go.
Bull milking! I would like the idea of John going to bullfights because he'd travel all the way from Wisconsin to Spain to spend time with cows. That would make my day.
Yeah, yeah. I had a feeling that was coming. Oh, I got the gun.
All right. Well, let's see. Where are they?
Here they come. Oh, there they are.
Shoot the gas!
I was overheated.
Oh, sorry. I timed it badly.
This is so unfair.
Well, there we go. I hope you enjoy your Spanish holiday.
Yeah, it probably won't be till next year, but I've taken the indecision away.
Yeah.
You know, and that's one of my biggest problems. It's like when I think about doing stuff like this, it's like oh, you know, I can go here, maybe I can go there. I could do this. I'll go check this out, and it gets to it. I'm like, oh fuck, I haven't really made any decision at all about anything.
And then the knowledge that when you post all your videos and stuff on the YouTube channel when you get home, the first comment will be asking if I was there.
Right. You're just not gonna let me live that one down, are you?
I didn't post it. What are you talking about? Well, nothing to do with me. I can't be held responsible for these things.
Can't you though?
No, I think that'd be cool. I don't travel around as much as I'd like. It's something I've always wanted to do in life, but one of the things I've never had too much time for. But it sounds like an awesome trip, and I would enjoy that. You know what I mean? I hope you do too. Be cool. Is all I say. I can't say like you'll love it because I've never been. It's a weird thing. Like.
Right. Okay. He's taking it.
Whoa! 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 Leave me alone.
But so that actually me making this choice has also led to something else that kind of fun. I mean, well, not fun, but
oh crap! I'm down.
I realize how susceptible I am to things like leaderboards.
Oh yeah.
So you know, okay, I'm going to Spain, so I should make some sort of effort to learn a little Spanish, right? So I re-downloaded Duolingo and I was like, okay, I want to pick up on the Spanish lessons that I was doing before, and but they, you know, since the last time I used Duolingo, they've added just a shit ton of features, and one of them is this leaderboard function where it's like as you're going, you know, if you get so many right and you earn so many points and XP, like they'll put you on a leaderboard, and if you're in the top 10, you move up to the silver league, and then if you're in the top 10 again, you move up to gold and diamond and blah, blah, you know, the whole 9 yards. And wow, this is nice.
Lovely. To the medical tent.
To the medical tent.
Oh.
So I do these lessons, and I'm like, okay, I'm having a good time, and you know, I'm picking them up, and everything's fine and dandy. But I didn't know about the leaderboards, and all of a sudden I get a little message on my phone going, "You've lost." Damn it, Owen. You've lost your top place on the leaderboard. I'm like, I lost what? And also it's like, you've lost your second place position on the leaderboards. And I was like motherfucker! I didn't even know these existed, but I'm really upset.
I'm coming back to you. So, it might not be for you, because I know it's for different people, but if you get a chance to maybe get out of the library or something, the Michel Thomas Spanish course, I am a big fan of the Michel Thomas courses. I've done them all, and I don't get a chance to use the language very much. I can't get up these stairs, actually, I'm trapped. But, every time it comes to language learning, it all comes back to me pretty quickly, and, I did that, well, I say I've done them all. I did the French, I did a bit of the Italian, the Russian, I've done the Japanese, a little bit. And you may notice I'm not proficient with all those languages, but that's because I just did the courses, do you know what I mean? I didn't then get a chance to put any practice in. But I think they're really exceptional courses if you use them as the tapes tell you to use them. A lot of people don't like them. A lot of people find them really irritating and distracting. They are very different things to different people. I think they're really, really good courses because they actually they teach you the language in very, very, very small chunks and then have you immediately get to work on translating out of the chunks that you've got. And then gradually introduce things. Okay. It's quite different to Duolingo, very, very different to what I think is total shit, Pimsleur. But I really like them. And so I recommend, whenever people talk about language learning, I always recommend the Michel Thomas courses. They are really good. Really, really good, I think, personally. If you can get used to Michel Thomas's voice.
I actually really like the Duolingo system.
Well, I think it's good.
Because I like that they kind of go out of their way to, I guess, make you use the language in multiple ways. You know what I mean?
Oh, I think Duolingo's excellent.
Because they'll have you... Yeah.
But I think it's...
For people who don't know, Duolingo is actually a free, mostly free. I mean, well, it is free, but there's a premium version. You can get some little bit of benefits or whatever. And if you're using the free version, you have to watch some ads and the whole 9 yards. But what I like about it though is that in each lesson, like they'll like, okay, first translate this sentence. Like, okay, and then I'll go like, okay, now what word would you use in this situation? Like, okay, and then it just they use a lot of different ways where it's like okay, like they'll give you a sentence in Spanish and okay, now what does this mean?
I often compare it to
or
people may remember there used to be a very, very heavily advertised program called Rosetta Stone. It's a lot like Rosetta Stone, except it's substantially better. Duolingo really kind of masters, I think, what most language courses really fail at, the ones you do yourself. Because the ones you do yourself, you're always, in some extent, sort of trying to manage your own time. It really masters that thing of, it shows you a usage, it asks you to use it, and then it lets you kind of deviate from it, gives you a few deviations, a few alternatives, and then the old ones start coming back a little bit. So you just sit and you use it, and it will basically track your performance to kind of give you repetition as much as it thinks you need it in different things, and then lots of different formats and context over and over and over again in different contexts. The only thing I don't like about it, and I don't think this is a very serious criticism, but I think it's valid, is Duolingo can be a little bit too passive, I think.
Yeah.
And I don't think Duolingo is a complete thing. I think it works best in conjunction with... I mean, everybody will tell you, like anything, the best thing in the world is to have a class. But classes are expensive, and they take time out of your day and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, honestly, the best way to learn a language, and
is to...
I've heard this a lot, is to be immersed.
Right, absolutely. But
it's...
Short of that, you've got a class, because that builds in immersion to some extent, and then I'm going to go back to the White House, because I've got to get some skills and stuff. Okay.
Is this the same one we did already?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, there's a safe house I don't have. Let's go get that
House.
first.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I haven't done this one. The shop.
The shop. I don't think I have either.
So yeah, absolutely. Like, if you're trying to learn from home, basically, learn not from the country you're going to, a class is great. Duolingo, I think, is really, really, really good, but I think it works best if you combine it with one other quite different method. You know what I mean? It doesn't really matter what, I think.
Right.
I think it just... I just don't think it's... I think too many people try and use it as a complete thing, and I think it's not actually directly engaging enough for that, if you know what I mean. It's a little too passive, in my opinion. But I do think it's excellent. I mean, it really is, I think, one of the best language learning systems I've ever seen. And I've tried them all, because I'm interested in learning languages. Pimsla's awful. Pimsla sells itself as the language training program that the CIA spies use, and it's atrocious.
Right.
Have you ever used it?
No, but I've heard that claim before.
It's rote repetition. It's nothing but rote repetition. It tells you what the phrase you're about to use means, and then it tells you to repeat it as much as you can, perfect accent, over and over and over again. So it's good for developing an accent, which is... Michel Thomas always gets criticism for not being good at developing an accent, because...
Oh, these fuckers.
Because the guy speaks with an accent. Michel Thomas himself. And so later on, when they moved on to other languages, they always tried to get native speakers in. And that's great, and I understand why. But the Michel Thomas method, I've found no better method for actually explaining grammar as a student. Michel Thomas is actually really weird, because the way they work is, it's a recording of two other students' language lesson. So you are listening to a recording of two students.
Yes, I've heard about.
And what
this.
you do,
I think you told me about this.
It's so good. What you do is every time they ask a question to the student, you pause the tape and you give your answer before them. And a lot of people never get past this because they find it irritating. But actually the way it works is, and the reason it works is, they always pick a student, one who's very skilled with languages and one who's not very skilled with languages. And so the kind of the secret magic to it is you're always in the room with someone who's naturally adept at it and picking it up really quickly. So if you're doing badly, you're hearing someone who's doing better than you. And someone who, if you're doing sort of average, someone who's doing quite bad. So in your brain, you're taking the time to kind of think and plan it out and go, okay, no, I think it's this and this and this. But you're also learning from someone else who's not the teacher to see how they're thinking it through. And kind of in your head, correcting someone else who's an idiot. You know what I mean? Well, not really an idiot, but...
Right.
And it's such a strange method, and I think a lot of people don't get past how unusual it is for a language course on tape, and from the fact that you explicitly have to pause the tape. It doesn't work if you don't, because they'll come in and they'll give their answers before you, so you have to sit with your tape and pause every time he says, how would you say this? But, by the end of, like, the first hour... So, in the French one, they do the cognates first. So they... Whoa! Sorry, I thought we were clear. I'll come back for you. I'd left. I thought that was the last guy.
No, we certainly were. Like, you took off and I was surrounded.
Alright, I'm coming back. But no, it's really good. Try it. Well, you know, I might actually have the French one. I used to have a version of it. But it is... sorry, French. The Spanish one. You might like it. People have very... People have very... why have I just put the flammable liquid on you? It's because I thought it was the healing liquid.
Thanks.
I know people have really differing opinions of the Michel Thomas one, so you might hate it. I don't want to recommend it to you on the grounds that you'll love it, because I know a lot of people don't like it. But it worked miracles for me. I mean, I know, though this is terrible because I don't speak a ton of French, but whoa!
Damn it!
But it got me to grips with languages in a way no other method really did, so I always recommend it. Even if it's not good for you, it might be good for someone listening. I'm down to.
Alright, that's
cool.
Hold on. You were trying to go to the
shop.
Yeah. The shop? Okay, I have that one.
Okay.
I will go there and then you just you have to load somewhere else, but you can just fast travel to me. Well, I mean, the thing is, like, I'm going to probably stick primarily with Duolingo. I agree with you that I don't think it's a complete thing, but I do work with a few fluent Spanish speakers. Most of them are Mexican, so I got to deal with the fact that it's going to be slightly different, but I think in the long run, like, I'll be okay. You know?
Sure.
So, I have over a year, you know, because I want to go in May next year.
Alright, load in at the White House.
So I think
Let me know when you're loaded in the shop.
it'll be fun. Oh, what you should look up, I don't know if you've heard of this before, but it's in Granada. But I know it's going to be the big tourist attraction in the town, but the Alhambra. This thing looks amazing. Like, it's very much a mixture of medieval and Middle Eastern architecture, because it's from that era of when the Moors came. So it's basically built up on a hill, and it's this massive castle compound with palaces and gardens and monasteries and temples and the whole thing built up in the center of town, and then as time progressed, the city spread out from around it,
right?
In kind of radiated out.
I have a few proficiency caches to open, by the way. I'm just gonna play with my gear while you're talking.
Yeah. So yeah, that looks super amazing to me. Like, I really wanna look at that and see it.
I'm just trying to decide if Spain's close enough for me to come and wreck your holiday.
Probably.
Don't worry, I still don't have a passport.
Yes. I mean, oh man.
Oh man, I'm actually really high up in my inventory. 58 of 60. I'm sad because I've been collecting different apparel and stuff and customizables and cosmetics. My guy no longer looks like an utter monstrosity.
Right. I gave my I unlocked the barber, and
Give some hairstyles.
yeah, I got different hairstyles, but I turned out I could put on the I can't remember her name from Mad Max Fury Road.
Oh, Furiosa.
Yeah, Furiosa. I unlocked like her like makeup thing, so now my character has like the black streak across her eyes.
You know, I hear they were planning 2 sequels to that, but they're tied up in legal stuff. That's sad.
Yeah, it's a shame. That was a great movie. God, I love that movie.
It was really good. Everybody loves that movie, though, don't they? I only know like 2 people who don't like it.
Some people don't. I've known a handful, and most of the people are just like, I hate to say it, but they're like not bright, I guess. It's like, I didn't get it. Like they're like, you know, there's like they didn't say anything. There's no story to it, or nothing. It's like that's kind of the point, but fuck it.
No, I know what you mean.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah.
Apparently, except knee pads. I had like gear for everything except knee pads. You ever end up watching those old Mad Max movies?
Oh, I haven't yet.
It's a weird trilogy of movies because each one is very different. You know what I mean? I like series of films like that where each one feels like it comes from its own era and school of thought almost. You know, there are many franchises like that where they're that different film to film. You know.
Right.
Some of the like it's more gradual because there've been so many, but I kind of like picking some of the Bond movies to see how different they are, like you know, Goldfinger versus Live and Let Die versus Spy Who Loved Me versus you know, Living Daylights is always interesting, but even then, like they were more like stage by stage.
Let's see here. Yeah, I mean, you see some of those old Bond films, and I think they're hilarious.
Right.
Because, like, you can tell there's definitely a time period with those movies where it's like they definitely saw these movies as very kitschy. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Like, there's one, I can't remember which one it is, but the big car stunt is they do a corkscrew in the air
And it goes
and land it.
as it goes over the...
Yeah.
Yeah.
This fucking slide whistle.
Awful. I mean, funny, but awful. Like, Live and Let Die is really interesting because it's a blaxploitation movie.
Right.
And the villain is a guy who is a Harlem mob boss and dictator of a small African nation at the same time. He just wears like different makeup depending on which role he's filling. It's I mean, there's a lot in Live and Let Die that's just downright offensive now.
Like the song. Excuse me.
Like the song.
Said like the song. Yeah.
Meow, meow, meow.
I
Meow,
do
meow,
not
meow.
like this.
Meow, meow. Remember when Guns N' Roses really did a cover of that?
Ugh. They're another band I don't care for.
What do you like, John? What do you like? Tell us something you like. Mumford and Sons?
Mumford and Sons.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. People with beards.
I've noticed that Mumford and Sons has become the new trendy band to hate.
Oh, it's been that for a long time.
Yeah. They're fake. They're fake folk.
Fake
like,
folk.
Do you know what real folk? It's like, do you know what like real folk actually sounds
Oh
like?
man, I have
Like,
another safe house I don't have here. The archive. Have you got that one?
Well, I can. Probably.
Yeah, let's do it. This is sort of cheating, but why the hell not?
I don't care. I don't care.
Oh no, neither do I. Well, it's not cheating for you.
But,
You've done it.
oh, I have something I can talk about.
Oh god, you could, that sends the massive signal of how good we are at this show, doesn't it? John, thrilled at the thought that he has something to talk about.
I wish there's. Oh man, I wish there's more people in the chat for this because I think this is a topic a lot of people get into.
I hope we're still doing this show when we're
I
old.
have.
And John could be like, I've got something to talk about. I've got a mole on my butt.
Why can't they? Why do they gotta use chopsticks? Why can't they just use forks like the rest of us?
I mean, I wasn't going to imply you'd become a racist, old man, but...
Oh, it happens to everybody. We're all bound for racism.
Well, sure, but I think normally that's because society comes a little further along, right? It's not usually because you regress to racism from the 40s, is it?
No, I have a goal. It's my goal in life.
It's
to
targeted decline.
Shake off these... Yeah, I really want to shake off these progressive and liberal bonds I've been living under.
Okay, well, I've got to go to the campus to talk to Henry Hayes, so I'm going to do that. If you want to come with.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be there.
I'll be there. Continue.
So, I have recently, finally... Are you running there, or are you...
I don't have a near at fast travel, so I'm running, yeah. And then I got a main mission if you want to do it.
Okay, I'll run with you.
Run with us.
All right, we can. I can go there, and you can come to me. All right.
What? Oh, okay, yeah, sure, whatever.
Like just for this little
Yeah,
stuff, might
sure.
as well just do that.
Well, I might not be able to because I don't have the fast travel thing yet. But if it doesn't let me,
well, no, you can fast travel.
no.
Me.
Yeah, but it let me do that with the safe house a minute ago. It hasn't let me do it with this unless you're not there yet. We'll see.
I'm not there yet.
That's fine.
I have finally, after. Okay, I've finally read the first Harry Potter book.
Why?
Honestly, okay. So how this came about was when.
Are you a Potterhead now?
I was of.
You're on board.
No.
Expelliarmus.
Just let me speak, Adams.
Jonicus Shuddyupicus.
Onus Begonigus. So when those books first came out, right? So it was 97 when the first book came out. I was 9 years old, and I remember them coming out and people being really into them and stuff like that. I attempted to read the first one. I only got honestly like 20 or 30 pages in. I'm like, oh, good God. Like, it has an incredibly slow start, right? And not even like an interesting slow start where it's like, oh, we're laying down some mystery and we're gonna do this, and it was none of that. It was all it's all very how do I say this? Let's watch Harry go through his day-to-day life and like, oh, it's pretty fucking miserable, isn't it? Like, and I just didn't have a mind for that when I was, 9 years old. I was just like, I don't want to know about this. Like, I don't. This doesn't. No. So I ended up at that age getting into the His Dark Materials trilogy, which I've stated before that it's some of my favorite books of all time. They're very important in my life, and to be honest, they are far more. They're both considered both Harry Potter and His Dark Materials trilogy are considered, young adult books and stuff like that. The His Dark Materials trilogy, though, is far more serious, and it's a much more difficult read. It's much more challenging.
So it's worth mentioning I wouldn't class the first 3 Harry Potter books as young adult.
You would say probably the straight up children.
Yes,
book,
without a doubt. The thing about the Harry Potter books is they grew with their audience. There was one a year for a while, and I say one a year early on. I don't think the first Harry Potter book's a young adult book at all. I don't think the second is. I don't really think the third is. I'm borderline on the fourth. You know what I mean? Personally.
Right. Okay. So that happened. Now, what got me to read them this time, though, was I finally got around to reading the last, because it was actually just within the last year or 2 years, maybe 3 years. But Philip Pullman, the guy who wrote His Dark Materials trilogy, started another trilogy in the same universe. And I finally got around to starting that up again. And I read that book. I was like, well, okay. I have read...
I've picked a mission, by the way, if you want to head for it.
Okay, sure. So I've read this series through. It's like, and for some reason in my head, I'm like, you know what? I should go back and read the series that I opted out of in lieu of His Dark Materials trilogy or series. Now, so that's the main reason I did it. It's hard to go back, man. It's real hard to go back. Because I get it. Like I was really trying hard to read through these books with the mindset of a 9-year-old,
Yeah.
And which is not easy.
Right. I mean, I read the first one. There were 3 out when I read the first one. I was a little bit late to it. And I didn't mind it. It was alright. I think Goblet of Fire... a lot of people like Azkaban. It's pretty good. Azkaban and Goblet of Fire are where they start to get into young adult books. And I think if you stick with them, I think you'll find... Well, I don't know. The second one's basically the same sort. I think you'll find Goblet of Fire is quite a different... age target to the ones before it, But no, I think the difficulty with this is... Because I would agree. I mean, I read it, I would have been about 11, which is not really too old, at that point. And I agree. I actually think the problem with the Harry Potter books is they were so successful with so many people because the truth is children's literature had been kind of neglected for a long time when they came out.
Right.
It just wasn't in a good place. And they kicked off a whole young adult thing, but they kicked off a way of thinking about children's books that says, because all children's books, unless they're for very young children now, are young adult, and they're made with the mind that you'll capture like a geeky adult audience as well. And in reality, I would say that first Harry Potter book isn't for adults in any meaningful way. It certainly doesn't feel it to me.
Well, I mean, the thing is, like, I read, I've read the book, and I absolutely get, I 100% get how they became a thing. Like, because that was another thing, like, going into, I kind of wanted to figure out. I'm like, how did this series figure it out? Like, how did this one become the phenomenon, right? And because I remember watching the first movie, right? And I was like, I don't get it. Like, I don't get why this is so interesting to people. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna figure out why. All right, sing out the murder testicle. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna figure it out, and I think I did, right? And I don't think this is I highly doubt that this is a new take on it. You know, I'm pretty sure this has been examined time and time and time and time again. But so what I will say that the book absolutely captures is it's 100% a wish fulfillment thing of, hey, you could be special, right? You can be awesome, right? Because Harry, you know, comes from this, you know, shitty upbringing. You know, it feels like no one understands him,
right.
and he's neglected, and no one gets, but it turns out he's really fucking awesome, and just no one took the time to realize it, right? He'd be awesome, and he's gonna figure everything out. He, you know, even when he does something wrong, it's for the right reasons, and you know, I don't want to go so much say like, oh, because I don't like the term, but Harry very closely comes close to being a Mary Sue, you know. Like he doesn't mess up in that first book. Like he gets in trouble and stuff like that, but like the only thing like he really gets wrong is like Snape. Like he you know, falsely believes that Snape is a bad guy. And he's not wrong about that though. Like that's the thing. Like no, Snape isn't trying to kill him, but he doesn't like him. And they flat out admit to that oh, Snape does not like Harry at all. So, like, in a weird way, Harry is still right about that.
Well, he's also right about
Snape.
there being something going on that happens to overlap
Right.
with Snape at critical points.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, his reasoning behind distrusting Snape is 100% justified.
Oh, damn it,
you know?
I'm down.
Like, any
Oh.
reasonable... Oh, I'm down.
yeah, me too.
Like, everything... all his suspicions, I think, can be easily justified.
Right.
Right? Because, the big twist
Right, because
at the
because
end
Snape is a legitimate red herring in the book.
Right.
He's written like that.
And I think actually kind of a bad one at that, like in terms of like writing technique. Because for me, a good red herring is only a good red herring if there is some sort of a hint at the real thing. But there's not. There's not a single...
Oh, I'd say the Quirrell thing is set up well enough. It's not a...
you think so?
Yeah, it's not a twist out of nowhere. They establish right at the beginning that he's been away. He wears the turban the whole time. He's away where there were rumors of dark magic rebuilding and things. Yeah, I think Quirrell's a...
But like, okay, like the turban thing, they don't establish at all that Voldemort can pass himself onto someone's fucking head, you know?
It's a children's book, John.
Like,
And I'm not saying that excuses
Right,
bad writing, but what I'm saying is there's a level of sophistication, subtlety you're not gonna go into in a children's book. Do you know what I mean?
I guess, like I get that, you know.
Because the question of
I don't think
the question
that-
of Voldemort's powers isn't relevant to that issue, whether or not he can put people on his... Bearing in mind, we're in a world of magic, right? So we can assume that... And it's the kind of magic where, broadly speaking, you learn a spell that can do a thing, you can do a thing. The rules are contextual. They write them as they're needed. Which, you know, everyone says with magic you should have rules and stuff. But again, we're talking about, in this book at least, a young children's book. And a very kids' idea version of witches and wizards, I would say. The question of... Well, hold on. Let me just finish. The question of Voldemort's
go ahead.
exact relationship to Quirrell isn't relevant to his setup. All that's relevant is that he's working for Voldemort. Do you know what I mean? I would argue. In that case.
I guess. Like, I'll give you that. Like, but I think what is relevant, though, is Quirrell's relationship with, like, Snape.
Right.
Because that is like a scene in the damn book of those two talking.
Yes.
Right. And they explicitly write it in such a way that there's no way you can interpret that situation other than Snape being the bad guy there, right? The only way that scene plays out any differently is with the knowledge that comes at the end, which, like I said, it is a kid's book. You know, I'm not expecting, Tolstoy. You know, but it does feel a little shitty to me. Like,
but I think the other difficulty is that what it means to be a kid's book has changed. Because for me, I think you're right. It is a wish fulfillment story, right? It's popular because, hey, Harry Potter's this kid who has a crappy life, and it turns out he's the most important kid in the universe, right? That's a story that appeals to people,
right?
And what I will say in the series' defense is, that's quite simplistic. It's quite a simplistic wish fulfillment with no consequences, right? As the series goes on, it becomes less of a simplistic wish fulfillment with no consequences. It's just that first book is for the youngest audience in the series. Do you know what I mean? Oh, come on! Oh, come on.
Yeah, we got rushed.
Oh, I thought I'd be able to get out of it. And I say this as someone who, like, I don't want to defend them. I don't think they're bad kids' book, but if you were to ask me why I think they became so successful, I think it's worth looking more at... I mean, I think there's also something... There are two things that I don't think the movies capture. I don't think the movies capture exactly, like you were saying, how crappy Harry's life is before. I don't think they really get that across. But the other thing I don't think the movies really capture is, even though they're set at Hogwarts, they don't capture the kind of boarding school adventures vibe that the book has.
Right.
Which I think... In fact, the movies don't really capture the fact that this is set in a school in quite the same way. They don't capture the vibe of being a kid in lessons. But, I'll finish and then you can go. Like, the one thing I think is more important is, really, the climate has changed so much now. Children's literature was really very shit when Harry Potter came out. And I think it's a little unfair to judge it today on that, because it was quite well written for a kid's book at the time. I have more of a problem with the series as it goes further in, but go for it. That's my take.
Well, okay, so here's the thing. I don't think it's bad. You know, like
no, me neither.
I enjoyed it. There's things I think it's really great about. I particularly really enjoy how magical they make the world feel.
Things like the chocolate frogs and stuff. Oh, tough. Sorry, my cat's just jumped on me. Excuse me. Let me just...
Yeah, stuff like that, and I really enjoy just things like, it's the... what's a good example of this? Like around Christmas time, like that was a really great moment in that book. I think, where they're all hanging about, they're having a snowball fight in the court, and and then all the poppers, they don't just there's not some shitty paper crown or anything like that. It's sparks flying around, and there's gold coins and silver pieces stuck in cakes, and all that feels really, really good to me. Like that.
Yes.
I will say, as a setting, I think Hogwarts sounds awesome.
Yeah.
And I can legitimately say, even today, I
don't think that comes across in the film as strong at all. Do you know what the film really didn't have? Never really quite got that I liked? The ghosts. Chamber of Secrets has Moaning Myrtle in because she's pivotally important to the plot. And, John Cleese played a ghost in one, but, Rick Mayall was going to be...
Yeah, he played...
Was going to be Peeves, and they completely cut him out of the movie. That would be great. Rick Mayall was the guy who played Drop Dead Fred. And he's going to be Peeves.
That would make sense. That would have been pretty good.
That. But the ghosts... You see, everything everything that I like about Hogwarts is in the movies, but it's always like once, and then you never see it again.
Yeah.
It's almost, do you know what? It's almost making me want to go reread it. Because it is, I think that's a big part of why they succeeded. Hogwarts was a place you wanted to go to.
Yeah. And I'll admit, that for me is actually the highlight of the thing. Like, here's the thing. I don't mean to judge it based on its plot and stuff like that, but I can't get around the fact that it's just, to me, kind of a shitty plot. I get it that it's, you know, to a kid, it's probably a really awesome plot, but I'm not a kid. You know, it's, and as much as I try to put myself into that mindset, I have a really hard time doing that. And maybe that's my own, you know, failings.
I am of the opinion that they get progressively better until Order of the Phoenix, and then from Order of the Phoenix it becomes too much about not an individual book's plot and, oh, what's the next twist in the soap opera that will hit our ongoing characters. Do you know what I mean?
Right. And I do plan on reading all of them. So
go for it. I'd love to know what you think of Chamber of Secrets, which is my least favorite book prior to Order of the Phoenix, but one of my favorite movies. And I think the core plot holds. I think Chamber of Secrets is the other way around. I think the story is substantially better in Chamber of Secrets, but the magic doesn't feel as good. Do you know what I mean? My opinion.
Right.
And then Goblet of Fire is my absolute favorite. So.
Book or movie?
Book. I think Chamber of Secrets is actually my favorite movie. Mind you, Chamber of Secrets has some good fun stuff. And then I don't really like any of them after Order of the Phoenix, I'll be honest. Half-Blood Prince, the movie, I would say is unwatchable. I don't know how, I know people who've only seen that movie and think it's great, and my opinion is that, like, I don't love the book anyway, but the Half-Blood Prince movie has so much cut from the book, and so much badly explained from the book, I don't know how anybody could watch that movie and get it, you know?
Fucking division got into the vault. It's
Right.
cool. We moved the president. He's tucked away nice and cozy upstairs.
They had the president?
Holy shit. They pulled
Yeah.
the president out of the wreckage. Agent, you got a new assignment. Find out where the president is being held and get him back.
Is it New York? Dun, 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 dun. Call Snake Plissken.
Right.
Yeah, I'm glad you liked it. I'm not a huge Harry Potter fan, but I liked those books the first time around. Quite a lot.
Yeah, so I will say, and I'm curious if my opinion would have been different if I had read these when I was a kid. But by far, like by leaps and bounds, I think Ron is a way better character than Harry in the book.
I've always liked Ron because I was that kid who had to go to school with the shitty hand-me-down clothes and never had the right equipment and never had the working stuff. Do you know what I mean? That was me. I was that kid.
Right.
And I've always liked Ron because of it. Without a doubt.
So what I like about him is that I get it, you know, they're all kids and whatnot, but he has like some of the most like legitimate responses to things. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
because what I think what really set me over the edge with him, right? What made me really, really like him is one scene in particular, right, where they're breaking into the through the trap door and whatnot, and there's a bit where they have to light
Whoa.
a fire. Oh shit!
The hell? What happened?
Oh, were we supposed to keep someone? Oh, we have to keep that terminal safe.
Oh shit!
I
didn't think
forgot.
about that.
But they have to light a fire, right? And Ron and Harry are trapped, and they're like, Hermione, set it on fire. It's this plant, right? This plant that has
Right.
a trap, like, it's set on fire. And she goes, but I don't have any wood. And Ron goes, "You are a witch! Set it on fire!" And she's like, "Oh yeah." Like, that's maybe my favorite part of the whole book.
It's a nice...
Just, like,
it's actually... It's a bit of thoughtful characterization, too, because Hermione is not, like Harry Potter, not raised in the wizarding world, you know? Mm-hmm. So it fits. I like that Ron actually comes... As the movies go on, this concept of, like, who's like a born, well, as the books go on, who's like a born wizard and who's a muggle-born becomes more important. And I do love that that the Weasleys are also like an old wizarding family. So they're kind of like wizard aristocracy. They're just, you know, really poor. I like, you know, it's terrible, but I actually... What I like about... So this is something I will say, because I think the first 4 Harry Potter books are actually pretty good. And I think what you've picked up on is all fair criticism, but as the books continue, what they become kind of better at is contextualizing that first book a little differently, so that you sort of see that that first book is through the eyes of a young Harry Potter. Do you know what I mean? A little bit.
Right.
And that... Part of the reason it's in some ways a sort of naive book is because the characters are more naive, you know? I will say something, and I know this is sort of... Maybe this is dumb of me. I don't... This is so bad, because it is just a young kid's book, and I think I get it, but I think it's not as complicated as I make it in my head. I don't 100% get the ending. He thinks of it, and therefore it is there because he thought of it, I guess. For people who've never read Harry Potter, the MacGuffin in this movie is a thing called the Philosopher's Stone, or if you're American, the Sorcerer's Stone, which is a substantially worse name because the Philosopher's Stone was an actual thing that alchemists believe existed, and the publishers just thought Americans were too dumb to know what... to want to read a book about... Like... Have a little faith in your audience, you know what I mean? Like, I hate that alternate title, but the Philosopher's Stone is a thing that basically is, in the context of the book, it gives you eternal life. And there's sort of hints that Dumbledore's used it and things like that, because he's very old. And anyway, and they're looking for it the whole time, and it's in Hogwarts. It's being held in Hogwarts because they all believe Hogwarts to be the most secure place in the wizarding world, basically. And, oh, sweet, purple loot. And,
oh, behind us, behind
sorry.
us. We got to keep that thing safe.
And, this is something I think is kind of interesting, too. Earlier on in the book, before the end, they establish a thing called, what's it called? It's the Mirror of something something. And it shows you...
Oh, yeah, I can't remember what it's called.
It shows you what you want the most in the world, basically. And the first time Harry sees it, he sees his parents. It's kind of a nice moment. And actually, it's kind of sad. He takes Ron, and he's expecting to show Ron his parents, because he thinks this is an enchanted mirror that, like, his parents are trapped in or something. And he's thrilled. And then Ron gets there, and Ron just sees this really pathetic, normal schoolboy fantasy of him, like, winning the World Cup. It's
not a shitty fantasy. It makes completely sense for
Ron.
But
what I mean is it's not meaningful in a deeper way. It's just the kind of thing kids want to see, and it destroys this beautiful moment, which is, you know, interesting. And then the mirror moves away, and it's kind of interesting the way, and that comes back at the end, right? Harry is trying to find the Philosopher's Stone, and nobody knows where it is at this point, and it's supposed to have been hidden under a thing, and Voldemort can't find it. And then Harry discovers that the mirror is also down there in this final conclusion, and he sees it, and he's supposed to see himself finding the Philosopher's Stone, so that if he sees it in the mirror, he'll know where it is, right? Which, A, sort of contradicts how they've already suggested the mirror works, because the mirror doesn't show you things that are true. It just shows you what you want to see, right? So there's no reason, by what we've heard about the mirror so far, there's no reason to believe it shows you where the stone actually is. You know, it just shows you it, you know? Ron didn't see himself actually winning the World Cup in future. He saw, you know, an image of it. but it shows him the stone in his pocket. And then it's in his pocket. And I'll be totally honest, I've never understood that ending.
What I gathered from it, because what's his nuts? Dumbledore. That's another thing I kind of get annoyed with is Dumbledore in the thing where it's like, oh, I want to say something really goofy and shit, and you're gonna think that this is poignant because it's me.
He's cryptic for the sake of being cryptic too.
Right. But he says, but I think what it comes down to is, all right. Before we go over there, I want to try to listen to what these guys are saying. I missed it when I played it before. I've played this mission. Sorry.
No, it's alright.
Okay. But what basically comes down to is that to find the Philosopher's Stone, right? You need to want the stone and not what the stone gives.
Right, which they established that too. Sorry, that is an important part of it. They established that you can't find the... Basically, you can't find the stone if you're going to use it for evil. More or less.
Right. But so it's like, okay, I got that. And in that situation, holy shit, they are lighting the president up.
And that makes total sense, because that's the kind of enchantment you'd be able to do in this universe, and it's a clever enchantment. Mm-hmm. Make it so that you can only find it if you don't want it for power.
Mm-hmm. Or like, you know, if like what you want is the actual object. Like, I don't think the intent so much matters, but you need to want the object and not the effects, you know? So even if you want to use the effects for good, I don't think it would work still, you know?
Right.
But,
Roger that, Mr. President. We've already got a bird in the air.
Sir, I'm not seeing any rooftop access.
But, okay, I remember this mission. This is actually really cool. Like, what, how this...
He was shouting about having the division breathing down his neck, though, right? Not the hyenas.
No, that was the hyena. That was the hyena. That's what I thought first when the first time I played this. I'm like, was that the president saying that shit? But no, when I watched it again, it does sort of say hyena member.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
We're inbound to your location. Coming in over the atrium. Keep your heads down. We're gonna make a hole.
Ooh.
But were you a little, like, shaken by the ending, or was it just me? Oh, damn it, I'm down.
By the...
With the mirror! It's always irritated me. I've never really got it. Like, I get it. I get it as much as I need to get it. But I always feel like there's some element of it I'm missing. Oh my god! Ugh. Sorry, I immediately got blown up.
Yeah, I got hit by that too. It's convenient, you know, and that's kind of what my big issue is too, with it. Not like, this is more of a, I guess, like an extracurricular complaint with the book. But Dumbledore's a fucking lunatic, right? Because, okay, the fact that the mirror's down there, right? It really gets the sense that, oh, he always intended for Harry to be the one to do this, right? Which, fair enough. We understand that Harry has a destiny and everything like that. But that's a super irresponsible thing for him to do, especially considering the fact that, like, oh, he's also, like, he took off, you know?
Well, my
like,
one...
When all this was supposed to go...
My one irritation with the series, I think, that persists all through the original books is... never, at any point in the series, does anybody go, well, you know, Harry, Ron, and Hermione were pretty much exactly right the last 5 times. And the only bits where they were wrong on
Right.
were when we deliberately gave them misconceptions by refusing to work with them. Maybe we should just tell them this time.
Right.
And that always irritates me. I realize it's because it is a formulaic series. Every book starts them going back to school, and it's a different school year. But oh, I kind of hate it. That's always bugged me. And I always think it's a flimsy complaint, but no, I'd say they
Okay, when the president hops on this thing, just keep watching him.
All right. Hey, look,
It's really
how about a little
goofy
faster,
how
President?
this looks.
Just a little bit faster. A little bit. Climb up. Whee!
Just keep watching. It's
How's it swinging that way when the helicopter's moving away? You know, if I was on a rope ladder hanging from a helicopter, and I was the president, I would be like, no, keep winching me in before you fly away.
Right.
Like, absolutely not. Let me climb up. I'll keep climbing. That's fine. You keep winching.
Oh, that's right. I always got a hard time figuring out where I had to go.
Yeah, well, there is a thing
Oh.
down here, but I don't seem to be able to interact with it. Pardon me.
No, here we go.
Oh, okay. Whee!
Yeah, so Harry Potter, it's fine. I get it. Like most of my complaints with it stem from me not being the
10,
right age.
yeah.
You know, I get it. Like I understand that, and I don't hold those criticisms against the book necessarily. I do think there are plenty of examples out there of children's literature, I guess, that doesn't feel quite as patronizing in a weird way. Which I do think that there's moments in it that feel kind of cheap in a weird
To
way.
me, it feels like it's straddling two eras. You know what I mean? Because kids' books used to be a lot like what you're talking about. You know what I mean? In kind of the mid-90s when we were... Well, not the mid-90s. It's kind of the late 80s, early 90s when we were kids. There was a lot of that, you know? Sort of not the Goosebumps and Animorphs school, but like the... You know what I mean?
Oh, you want to... Like, Animorphs? Like, okay, that's another series I really enjoyed. Going back, I decided the other day to... Not the other day, but a while ago to just go through, like, the Wikipedia of it, you know, and read the basic plot line of it. And those books were really kind of fucked up for kids' books. And I, you know, of course I didn't necessarily realize this.
I'm down, by the way, but I can't respawn. Just so you know.
Okay. I will try to get to
No
you.
worries.
You know, of course I didn't realize this as a kid, but apparently the intent of those books by K.A. Applegate, she's the one who wrote them, were... Oh shit, they're flanking. Were to examine the horrors of war, right?
Right.
And when I read through the plot line as a whole, instead of, you know, individually in the books, I get it. Like, I totally get it. I'm like, oh my god, that's right. This shit happened. So yeah, those books were messed up. So what I think what I mean when I say, like, kind of patronizing is some of the elements that are, I guess, feel a little unnecessary to me. Draco, okay? Malfoy. He's a character which I have issues with. Not necessarily because of his actions, but the idea that we need such an overtly villainous character. You know what I mean? It's very over the top with him, I think. And I get it, like, oh, you know, keep reading later on, and, you know, things seems like, yeah, that's fair, but in this book, he's just overtly a douchebag. Right?
I wouldn't say he ever gets any better.
Yeah, it just... And that's what I don't like, is this, like... There's no subtlety to him at all.
Right, but then this is where we get into, I think, where it becomes a little unfair, I think, and a little difficult, because where the series is in terms of the movies and how famous they are doesn't really reflect what this book is, which is it's a young children's book. I mean, it really is a young children's book.
I get that, but like there are other. I think there are other examples out there where this isn't there. This isn't a thing, you know?
Well, sure, but those books will have their own things that are...
Oh, we're gonna die.
Yeah, I'm dead already.
Stay alive, stay alive, stay alive! Oh, okay. I'm still alive. It's... Like, Draco very much feels like a sort of Deus Ex Machina, just in the opposite direction. You know what I mean? Like, he exists solely so bad things could happen to Harry, and it's a little frustrating to me because, like, I feel like there are multiple characters who exist at this point just so bad things can happen to Harry.
Oh, for sure. But it's also that it comes out of an old sort of boarding school literature tradition as well. You know what I mean? You've got the teachers, the teacher you like, the teacher you don't like, the nerd, the scruffy kid, the hero, and the bully. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
I'm down, by the way, and I
close
can't
enough?
respond, just so you know.
God damn it, you... Oh, no, shit, fuck!
I hate this section. Just let the mission. We've rescued the president. We don't.
Well, thank you, Smooth Davis. I have not read any other books other than the first one, so please don't spoil. But Smooth Davis basically says Malfoy did choose not to say it was Harry when his face was disfigured, which surprised me. I don't remember that in the first book. I don't think that's where it happened. All right, I'm gonna give you the drone.
All right, I'll try not to get killed.
I mean, like I keep on saying, I don't mean to come off as like I didn't like the book. I did. I actually enjoyed it. It was a fun read. You know, and like there was, I kind of liked the feeling of how do I say this? It felt almost like vignettes. You know what I mean? Of like, oh, here's a bunch of just little separate moments that happen in school, like, oh,
right.
This is the shenanigans that they got up to today, and this is
because they're trying to capture a whole year,
this is like a hot class,
which doesn't come across in the
Right.
movies as well.
Right. And here's the thing: I haven't seen the movies either. I saw the first one. I think I saw the first three actually, but I do not remember anything about them. So like comparing them to the movie, I still got nothing. You know. So honestly, for me, like, I really don't have anything to compare it to. So it's pretty much just the books for me at this point. Which I guess maybe is a good thing. I did decide though that when I'm gonna basically watch the movies in thirds. So once I finish the first 3 Harry Potters, I'll go back and watch the first 3 movies. And then when I watch the next 3, I'll go back and watch the next 3 movies, and then when I finish up, I'll watch the last 2, because I know Deathly Hallows is broken up into 2. Which, from what I understand, is a big point of contention for a lot of people.
Well, I was the first one to start doing that, you know? I don't really mind it with Deathly Hallows, because, I mean, the truth is, everyone says that it was just a cash grab to get more money, but I'm of the opinion, you know, I said Half-Blood Prince felt completely shredded to bits, and I don't know how anybody who hadn't read the book got what was in the movie. I was quite glad when they said they'd split Deathly Hallows, because I thought Half-Blood Prince was a bad movie because it was trying to fit too much book in, you know? So it didn't really bother me. It bothered me much, much more in the Hunger Games, where each of those books each of those books is identical in length almost, you know? And the first 2 Hunger Games movies I think are basically perfect. I think they're excellent. And then
I think so too.
The second 2 I think are atrocious. Really don't like those second 2 movies, and it's such a shame because if they not split it, like that would be a trilogy of movies up there with Star Wars for me, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that one really was just a cash grab, you know?
Oh, I think so too.
Oh, damn it, I'm down. Alright, I'm coming to you.
Alright, try to get here.
Working on it.
Oh shit, they're gonna start pelting me with grenades.
But I'll be interested to see what you think about Chamber of Secrets, because I think Chamber of Secrets has a much better plot. I don't actually like it as much as the first book in terms of overall, but I do like the movie a lot more than the first movie. I don't much like the Azkaban movie. I think you probably like the second one, actually, plot-wise. It's different. And it, I don't want to give anything away, but it plays more with, the plot itself, I think, is more intrinsically connected to the fact that our characters are school children, if that makes sense. In a really interesting way. Oh, die.
Just die!
Hey! Oh, there we go. It's what we weren't doing before.
Well, I'm killing him.
Always makes me laugh. Stuff like that makes me think of that, that first David Tennant episode of Doctor Who where he's in that sword fight. And Rose shouts, "Look out!" And he went, "Oh yeah, thanks, I wouldn't have thought of that." Now whatever people say look out in a thing, I think of that. Alright, I'm coming to you, I'm down. I'm shuffling. I thought...
Oh god, there's still people coming.
I know, that's why, that's what got me.
Oh shit.
But yeah, as a moderate liker of Harry Potter, not really a Harry Potter fan, I'm interested to see what you think going forward.
I mean, like, there's certain things I think are really, really fun about it. I love the sort of interactions between, like, the different houses, you know. Although, what seems weird, because I know that that's a thing. Because I mean, I think you explained to me once that, you know, that's very common. I guess not.
It's not as common these days.
It happens in Britain.
It's not as common these days, but it used to happen.
The idea of putting kids into different, like, houses.
Well, it's a way
or-
of, if you're in a large school, it's then a way of organizing things like sports and games within the school as well. You've got preset teams and things. It's a very British idea of, competition and camaraderie in the school, I went to a school with houses.
I look forward to working with you once you
Right. And like, for me, it kind of seems like a very strange thing, because it's like this idea of like we're institutionalizing cliques.
Oh sure. I mean, by the time I went to the school that I went to with houses, it was mostly abandoned. You know what I mean? Like they weren't even using it that much. You could earn house points, but nothing was given out for them. You know what I mean? It was
Right.
it was a real once a week we had a house assembly, and that was about it. Because it was just old fashioned and things like that.
So I will say I like how that plays out, and there's
What with
there's
that
something
blatant
I
cheat
think
Dumbledore?
right. Oh yeah, no, we're
Because the thing is, I know
Yeah.
that they established in that show that the Slytherins are basically the evil ones, right? But in reality, when you actually have a little bit of perspective, and actually this comes to, I'm going to give you a really minor spoiler here. What I'm about to say is the tone, the final note of the series. The Slytherins are just school kids. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's not a big
Right.
spoiler. Don't worry. But the Slytherins are just school kids, and yet everybody treats them like they're the fucking villains,
right. You know who I actually feel really bad about at the beginning is the Hufflepuffs.
Yeah.
Like they kind of get shit on too at the beginning, and like I guess maybe at a certain point, because like I don't expect there to be a very long exploration into some of these houses, because I know that the big ones are going to be Gryffindor and Slytherin. I know this. I've heard enough people talk about these things. I know that these are the two houses that are going to get the most play. But I'm kind of like I'm looking forward to seeing at least some representation at some point of like Ravenclaw and Hufflepuff, and yeah, I don't know.
No, I know exactly what you mean.
I'm very curious to see how, because basically what these houses are in Hogwarts are personality tests.
Right. Which
That's what
really,
they are.
I mean, like, going into Hufflepuff, I mean, the thing is, what they do early on, and this is one of the things I do think is clever about the series, like I say, the books start off from a naive perspective and grow more sophisticated, But what they build early on is that according to those kids, like, Hufflepuff is basically like getting a failure stamp on day one, really.
Right.
But what you also find is that Gryffindor has people who you would think belong in other houses. Hermione is more naturally a Ravenclaw, Neville is
Right.
more naturally a Hufflepuff, I don't think there's a Slytherin in Gryffindor, really, is there? A Slytherin type. In the first one, at least. Well, Harry, I
would
guess.
say in a certain way. Well, I would say in a weird way, I think Ron kind of is.
Maybe, yeah.
I mean, because he, like, at least in the book, like, and this is one of the weirdest things okay, I'm sorry, but this president comes off as evil as fuck.
I haven't spoken to him yet. Let me go speak to him.
I'll let you, I'll shut up and you listen to this and I'll
Well, thank
continue
you.
later.
Very sweet.
Oh, and no worries, Zamu Davis, I'm not upset.
Oh, the gang's all here.
Ah, there we are. I wanted to thank you personally. If it wasn't for you, I'd still be at the mercy of those hyena assholes. We all owe a debt of gratitude to the division and the sacrifices you've made to keep our country together. You're the doer of deeds, as Roosevelt once put it. Now it's my
Because all presidents go around quoting other presidents.
toward an even greater good. As Agent Kelso suspected, samples of a broad-spectrum antiviral medication were sent to D.C. as a continuity of government measure. Let me be clear. We're talking about a way to combat viral infection. Polio, influenza, dengue fever, common cold, green poison. Not a vaccine. A cure.
Ooh.
I know where the package is located.
I mean, that's not that useful because anybody alive doesn't have it.
To access it, I'll need the briefcase I was carrying aboard Air Force One.
We believe the briefcase is with the true sons and the
No offense, but why would you give the president that information?
And get it back.
It's not that. Do you know what I mean? That's the kind of information that should be with the people doing the missions. You know, it's not like he's going out there finding it. Why was he carrying it in his briefcase?
Have to be willing to do things that won't be popular. But I'm not here to woo
Just ended up with some presidents.
I'm here to get shit done.
I was carrying a sample of the broad-spectrum antiviral,
Oh yeah.
but I ate it.
That is a nice little connection to the first one,
Oh yeah?
the first division. Is because if you read up on the antiviral, it was developed by that doctor from the first
Right.
one.
That makes sense.
Because apparently after the events of the first one, she goes to Ann Arbor, Michigan, to develop it.
Where else? Where else would she go, John?
Right. But so okay, back to Harry Potter. I probably won't do any more missions. Probably wrapping up here
Yeah,
soon.
I'm gonna finish up soon, so yeah.
But yeah, like Harry, or not Harry, but Ron to me, like, he does a lot of things that kind of feel a little Slytherin, you know what I mean? Like, he's very quick to punch, you know, he's very,
Yeah, he's not restrained.
he's very quick to, yeah, he doesn't take the moral high road in certain situations. But, like I said, throughout the book, he has the most reactions and decisions that I don't know, respect but understand. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's normal. He's not a lofty, foretold character or a genius.
And the weird thing is, like, I get it, and I understand the movie because, like I said, I saw the first one, and I do remember the first one quite well. We went to go see it in theaters as a school trip. It was very, very odd. But I remember in that movie, he comes off as he seems like a weird amalgamation of Ron and Neville in that first movie, because there's not a lot of Neville in that first movie. It's Ron, and Ron kind of takes that role where he goofs up the most, and he's kind of cowardly, and he's kind of sniveling in a weird way in that first movie, which I was expecting in this book, but he's not. He's actually much more good to go, in a weird way. Like, he's like, yeah, let's fucking do this. He feels very much like Harry's hype man in certain ways, where it's like, yeah, let's go. Let's
Right.
Like, hell yeah. And even when he's interacting with Neville, he's like, yo, Neville, like, stand up for your fucking self. Let's beat the shit out of these Slytherins sitting behind us, and let's go. Which I will also add, the Quidditch scene in the book is far more enjoyable than that Quidditch scene in the movie, in that first movie.
Do you think?
Yeah, that announcer is hilarious in the book. I legitimately
Never
laughed
makes.
reading that.
I think they do finally put him in one of the films, but never, ever properly given his due in the film. What's his name?
Oh, but yeah, that bit where what's his name, Jordan, just I like that. Yeah, when the Slytherin tried to kill Harry. Jordan! Okay, when the foul happened against Harry, which could have happened to anybody.
Yeah.
Just, I thought that was great. Or when he's talking, and it's like, oh yeah, and then Gryffindor has a new seeker, or not a seeker, but I can't remember the position. The bludger's the seeker, the keeper, and then there's the other ones. The ones who are supposed to score.
Well, there's bludgers.
Fuck, what are they called?
Bludgers and beaters.
Yeah, well, the beaters keep the bludgers away.
Beaters keep the bludgers away. The seekers and
the seeker goes for the snitch.
Which, really is the everyone else might as well just go home.
Quidditch is kind
bullshit
of a
game.
Poorly constructed sport.
Yeah.
It's very Calvin ball.
Absolutely.
But yeah, then there's the
keepers.
Yeah, then there's the keepers, who are the goalies. And then there's well, anyways, the Jordan says, oh yeah, and then Gryffindor has a new one of them, and she's very pretty. Jordan, sorry.
There are things I do like more in the book than I like in the film. Actually, I like Hagrid more in the book. Hagrid, interesting character, I think. Not badly done in the film, but badly written, I think.
I'm fully expecting in the book that when the reason he was expelled becomes very important. I feel like that's been kind of telegraphed in a very obvious way.
Kind of.
Hey, whoa! All right, these are theories of mine. Don't go on.
You don't have long to go, I think.
Thanks.
No, I'm trying to be non-committal. No, there are things I like. I like that first book enough. It's one where if I was to do a read through of Harry Potter, I'm trying to get through the first two to then get to the next two that I really like, and then it's all downhill from there. But actually, last time I read through, I liked Half-Blood Prince a lot more than I remembered, and Order of the Phoenix. The thing is, I haven't read them in a long time, and when I read Order of the Phoenix, Half-Blood Prince, and Deathly Hallows, I was at that point where I was starting to feel like I was getting too old for Harry Potter. Do you know what I mean? When you won't watch the shows you like as a kid anymore. So if I rewatch it, maybe I'll like it a bit more. But
I will admit, because of course I know Snape kills Dumbledore meme. I know that, right? I know the basic plot points that are coming. Like, there's no way you go this long without hearing that stuff. So
even that might have some surprises for you, though.
Oh, sure. But, at this point, all I can think is, Snape kills Dumbledore. I'm like, so? It's like, Dumbledore does nothing for me right now. I'm just like, oh, whatever. Just, fuck him.
Well, this is one of the areas where I think the big problem with this first book is it has been lost just how young an audience it's for. And kids like a kindly old grandfather figure who's always right and has a twinkle in his eye and looks out for you. Do you know what I mean? But as an adult, that character archetype's dumb, I like McGonagall.
I guess that's what
I think McGonagall is the grade A teacher.
I liked her in this first one too. I mean, because she was strict, but at the same time, it's like, oh, okay, I get it. You got a little spunk to you. You got a little some stuff off your sleeve.
They use her well. Actually, you get good jokes out of it, and the fact that she can turn into a cat is fun. And I like the Dursleys in this first book reasonably well as well. I think that kind of middle class. I think, are the thing that comes across the best in the movie. That kind of look that keep it up with the Joneses, don't embarrass us in front of the neighbors. Kind of abusive behavior is interesting.
So, okay, I will say, there's someone I work with who found out I started reading this, and she got very excited, because she I guess these books are very important to her, and I respect that. I understand how books can mean something very important to people. you should have seen the look on her face when I told her this. All right. I'm like, yeah, I told her, like, oh yeah, I read these books. You know what the weird thing is? I kind of find myself sympathizing with the Dursleys in a weird way. And she's just like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, think of it this way, all right? Yes, they're terrible people, and no one should treat a child the way they treat Harry, okay? But in a weird way, it's like, okay, especially for Aunt Petunia
Right.
or Perennia.
Petunia, yeah.
Or whatever, Petunia. It's like, okay, she knows about the magic world, okay? Her sister was, you know, for all intents and purposes, an incredibly famous witch, and her mom loved her. Everything like that. It was always, because I mean, she says it's like, oh, it was always Lily Rose this and Lily Rose that. Blah 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 blah. Like, so okay, there's always that chip on the shoulder, which I can, you know, you would hope that you get over that, but I could see how that would happen. You know, I could see how having the magical sister who gets doted on can be shitty. You know, so I get that. But then, okay, so Lily Rose is now a famous witch and gets killed because of her involvement with the wizarding world, right? And suddenly this child is just placed on your doorstep, like, oh, here you go, your problem now. And it's like I sort of sympathize with the Dursleys being like, okay, well, fuck, like, we didn't ask for this, like, this is ridiculous, and knowing very well that Harry himself is magical, so they know that they're kind of in for a weird time because they're going to have to take care of this magical child, and so the other thing too is that a lot of people, I think, interpret them trying to hide the letters from Harry as like a shitty thing to do, you know, like oh, we're going to keep these letters away from Harry, you know, because fuck Harry, you know. I think it's almost like sentimental. It's very sweet in my eyes, especially when you consider that his parents were killed because they were part of this wizarding world. I kind of feel it as a weird way of them trying to protect Harry. You know what I mean? Like, maybe that's not explicitly stated, and I'm probably reading a little too much into it, but I get this feeling of like, no, they know very well that if he goes into this world, his life is at risk.
Right.
And they're kind of keeping it from him. And I can sort of respect that.
Sure. I mean,
no,
they are
granted,
shitty people.
There's plenty. There's plenty that they do that, you know, is not redeemable. You know, like, don't get me wrong. I don't think of them as like secret saints, but I think there's some stuff there that makes them maybe not completely.
What's interesting is what I think's really interesting is that early on, the first Harry Potter book has a very almost cartoony, childish opinion of. It's a very child. This is what I mean when I say it's for a younger audience that I think people realize. It's a very childish interpretation of child abuse, right? They don't beat him. Do you know what I mean? They're not
Right.
beating him, or which is not to say they're not abusing him. That's not abuse, but they made him live in a tiny cupboard under the stairs. Is a real kid's idea of what having shitty parents would be like. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, there's other things that he do.
Sure.
Too,
Oh no,
but-
absolutely. But what I'm saying is overtly not liking him and not including him, but also making him live in a cupboard under the stairs like a cartoon character, is a simplistic sort of style of depicting child abuse. You know what I mean? Every kid
Right.
can get it, but it's not too horrible to read as a 9-year-old. You know? And I think there is nuance to that, and I agree. I think, the Dursleys do get a little bit of a bad rap because they are crappy, horrible people. And the one thing I do think, I don't think J.K. Rowling is an amazing writer, but if there's one thing I think she does write really well is she makes that stepbrother fucking unlikable. That,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
like, I want to smack that kid. And he's not even real.
Absolutely. It's just like, It's like, oh man, fuck that kid.
Absolutely. But I think you're absolutely right. You know, they suddenly had to protect this kid, and they don't really know what they're doing, you know. I also think I think you're right. There is an element of protection to the letters, because when the letters come, they actually start treating Harry and Dudley differently. You know what I mean? Right up to the point where they go away to the island, you know, which is, again, it's a very cartoony way of doing it, you know. I will say that's a whole sequence that I think was done well in the film. The letters and the
yeah. Well, they don't even go to the island in the movie.
They do.
I don't remember that. I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, they do.
I don't. God, I don't remember.
You know what else I think is great in the book? I really enjoy Diagon Alley and the shops.
Okay, you know what? That is one part of the book that I from my memory, enjoying much more in the movie.
Oh, really?
Because I remember reading this in. Oh yeah, because I remember reading the book, and I'm like, because it's one of the biggest chapters in the book. Oddly enough, it's because I don't know why I was counting, but I for some reason I kept track of this. Most chapters came in about 15 to 20 pages.
Yeah, makes sense, kids' book. Keep it nice and accessible.
Yeah. That chapter goes on to like almost 35, 40. And I got so annoyed with it after so long. It's like, because what they were trying to get across in that chapter could have been done a little bit quicker, because it was so much of oh, here's something crazy and weird that Harry doesn't see and didn't quite understand. Oh, and then here's another crazy weird thing that happened that Harry doesn't quite understand, and here's another weird crazy little thing that Harry doesn't quite understand. And like there's like 3 substantial moments that happen in that chapter. One, he gets his wand, right? I think that's kind of substantial, because like, oh, it's your father's, blah 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 blah. 2,
well, it's not. It's not his father's at all.
Oh yeah. What? No, it's not father. It's from the same Phoenix that made Voldemort's. Yes. Yeah. Sorry. But it's like, okay, so that's substantial. That happened. Gringotts, I think, is substantial because, you know, they reveal that, oh, okay, you know, there's. They get something from the vault, which is clearly the
and they reveal that Harry's rich.
Yeah, which is another kind of
it's actually
thing, I guess, to do.
It's
with
actually,
it. Oh, yeah, guess what? Harry will not have to worry about money at
it's
all
something.
in these books.
It's something I wish they hadn't put in, actually.
Yeah, it's. So other than that, like other things that happen in that section where, okay, they go to the tavern and everyone, you know, fawns over Harry, and I guess he sees Cornell, but there's certain things that happen during that chapter that don't feel like they need to be explicitly done there. You know what I mean? Like, this is where we get our first introduction with Quirrell or Quirrell. Quinell, Quirrell.
Like squirrel, but Quirrell.
Yeah, Quirrell. And then he meets Draco for the first time, and it's like, okay, we would have got the idea that Draco is a douche the first time we see him in the school, right? We don't need to have this whole section of Harry getting his robes and having to stand next to Draco, and getting the opinion that Draco's a douche there. Like, it's like, that section just really kind of annoyed me, because it just felt like so much just beating home the same point over and over again about, yes, Harry, this is a world that you don't know yet, and it's just one of those things like, okay, I spent 40 pages watching him shop, you know. that's
kind of what I like about it, actually. See, the thing I like about the Harry Potter books is you've got this mix of a fantasy adventure story with this kind of school life drama. And so actually the kind of shopping for the books and the getting ready for school bit, when you haven't seen Hogwarts yet, was interesting to me. I always enjoy that bit.
Yeah, I guess... I think I would have read... Okay, in a weird way, even though I just said I didn't like it that I watched him shopping, I kind of would have rather had more weird shopping moments than the Draco section or the Quirrell section. It just... I don't know. It's just... Those two interactions just really kind of rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah, fair enough.
And it's just... It is what it is. But I suppose we should wrap up. I already got the next Harry Potter book from the library, so I'll be getting into that probably tonight, actually. I'll probably start reading it. So yes... now the new segment of the show. John reads a 20-year-old book series and tries to act surprised at things.
Let's see. So you got Chamber of Secrets come up. I will say, no spoilers, but this book has my favorite teacher in it.
Oh, it's... Oh, who played him in the movie? I know who you're talking about. It's
He was played by Kenneth Branagh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Long before he directed Thor.
Mm-hmm.
I still think that's weird.
I'm that he directed Thor.
There's a really great interview with him on the Thor Blu-ray where they're talking about his history with comics and stuff, and he's like, no, I never really read comics as a kid. Except Thor, which was one of the ones I did read. I don't...
Like,
I don't need directors to have read the comics. You know what I mean? I just need them to kind of respect it while making it, you know? I think you can research Thor well enough to make a good Thor movie. I don't need you to pretend you read it, you know, 50 years ago in Britain when American comics weren't that popular in Britain.
Right. We understand Kenneth. Like, do you think anyone calls him Ken or Kenny?
Yeah, British theatre. Definitely.
You think so? You think there's people out there who are just like, hey, Kenny?
No, not Kenny, but definitely Ken. Or Pickle.
Yeah.
Hey, Pickle.
Pickle?
Yeah. Alright, let's get out of here, because your mic quality's gone atrocious.
Oh, yeah, I just switched mics,
See us out, John. We're still streaming.
Alright. Thank you all for watching. This has been another episode of Those Aren't Biscuits. I've been one of your hosts, Jonathan Cadot, and with me, as always, has been Owen Adams. Owen, where can they find you normally?
Channel, youtube.com/Owen Adams. There you go. That was easy.
Awesome. And you can find me on Twitter, which is @JohnCPerson, or you can just follow this channel right here, because this is where I do all my stuff. And that's about it.
Bye!
Have a good one.